Let's turn attention to one of our top stories today. A recent survey by international advisory firm Confidence has revealed there are not enough made-in-Ghana goods in some supermarkets in Accra. The survey, conducted between April and May 2019, examined a total number of 7,462 brands from 23 product categories comprising eggs, water, rice, confectionaries, and biscuits across some 8 supermarkets. Out of this number, 6,108, representing 82%, were foreign brands, with only 1,354 representing 18% and constituting made-in-Ghana brands. Well, these are quite worrying trends, especially in an era where local content is fast gaining popularity in all spheres. Joining us in studio to throw more light on these findings is managing partner of Confidence Advisory Group, Michael Koto. Michael, welcome to the Marketplace.
Thank you, man. A pleasure to join you.
Right. So in the first place, what actually informed you or inspired you to undertake this survey?
Recently there's been a lot of advocacy around promoting Made in Ghana, but we noticed that there's not a lot of data against which we can measure progress. So the primary motivation was to establish a baseline study that will allow us to know what percentage of Ghanaian products are sold in some of the key retail outlets in the country. Okay. And to continue to do this survey over the next couple of years, we plan to do this on a quarterly basis. And if you do this over a couple of quarters and over a couple of years, we should be able to know whether as a country we're making progress or not. We'll be able to know which particular product categories as a country we have comparative advantages, and in which our manufacturers and local producers have competitive advantage, and in which targeted support by government can be provided, and to see that they can do much better.
So you actually started with Accra, but eventually you're heading towards the
we started with Accra, and we focused on the major supermarket outlets.
Okay.
The supermarket industry is still fairly young, barely a decade old since we started, seeing the big supermarket chains coming into the country. Before they came into the country, all of us obviously would go to the corner shop and buy our basic consumables.
So to make the discussion more informed, I have put together some infographics, 3 of them. We'd like to play the first one and then comment on it. Let's
Yes, so this chart, and I hope that you can stream it. It shows 23 product categories that we surveyed. We looked at 23 main product categories, and there were product categories in which we discovered that we had made in Ghana products in the malls. So there are certain product categories in the malls that we did not survey, because we currently don't have any made in Ghana products in those areas at all. So we focus on these areas. And
what was some of these categories not covered at all?
Well, I mean, some of the more advanced products, television sets, computers, fridges, washing machines, stuff like that you don't have. Most of the product categories we looked at were food products, cosmetic products, things like water, things like soaps and detergents, basic, consumer goods that as a country we have manufacturers and we have producers, 23 of them. And we looked at what the percentage of made in Ghana on the shelves of these supermarkets are. So what you're seeing is the combined share of made in Ghana products across all the 8 supermarkets in all the 23 product categories. What we discovered was that out of the 23 product categories, water and eggs are the only categories in which we have made in Ghana having a higher percentage than foreign products. Eggs,
and even with that, the water...
yes, 56% of all the water is sold in all the malls combined is made in Ghana. So you still have 44% of all the water sold in the malls that are imported. Eggs is 91%, so 7% of the eggs is imported. Apart from that, all the other product categories, you have more foreign products than local products. The poorest performers as a category were rice and cosmetic products, 6% each made in Ghana products. If you take
6 out of 100, 94%.
94%
imported.
It's imported.
Yes.
If you take certain product categories, like if you take plastics and styrofoams, only 23% made in Ghana. If you take cooking oils, 22% made in Ghana. And cooking oils, we discovered an interesting trend. If you take palm oil, 100% of all the palm oils in all the malls combined is made in Ghana. But once you move to bleached palm oil, which is your vegetable cooking oil bleached, which requires a little more rigorous processing, only one brand is made in Ghana, 6% out of 100. The rest are all imported. So we noticed two big trends, for example. There were certain products that are tagged made in Ghana. They have local brand names, so they look like Ghanaian products. But when you discover they are actually manufactured by foreign manufacturers for local distributors and branded Ghanaian identity.
Wow.
And we found those examples, a lot of those in the bleach palm oil, tomato paste, and stuff like that.
Okay.
Another trend was pricing, because we also wanted to know whether Ghanaian goods, how they compare in terms of price competitiveness to foreign goods. That's where we had one of our most shocking discoveries, because it turns out that in 73% of the product categories we looked at, Ghanaian goods were cheaper than the foreign products.
Let's take a look at it. Yes, that's it on the next survey.
So the price,
percentage of made in Ghana versus foreign goods.
Versus foreign goods.
Okay.
The pricing issue was quite surprising, because there's this widely held notion that cheap imports make it impossible for Ghanaian manufacturers and producers to compete and be competitive. What we discover in the malls actually is that Ghanaian products are generally much cheaper than their foreign competitors, which tells us a lot about the potential competitiveness of Ghanaian manufacturers and Ghanaian producers. So there is scope and there's room for improvement.
Did you take into consideration packaging?
We looked at packaging, and the packaging gap is shrinking. It used to be the case that locally produced goods had pretty bad packaging. What we've noticed in almost all the supermarkets in a lot of the product categories is that the packaging gap, quality gap is shrinking, and there's what we call catch-up packaging in terms of quality, and a lot of local producers are beginning to do very well. And some of that is because of exposure, and it's become a lot easier to do graphic designs, and because of access to all kinds of programming software, a lot of graphic design, arts. So it's a lot easier, and it's not as hard as it used to be.
Right. So generally, what is the outcome, the entire outcome, telling us as a people?
I mean, this reveals a couple of trends. It raises a few questions. We know that Ghanaians for many years have been quote-unquote addicted to foreign products, and as a country we are heavily foreign imports, products dependent. So this it raises questions: is the dominance of foreign products a demand-driven phenomenon, or is it a supply-driven phenomenon? Is it because Ghanaians are overwhelmingly addicted to foreign products? Is this why the supermarkets are giving us what we want? Or is it a case of, if you're not offered the opportunity to know that they are good Ghanaian products, you never even get to know that they exist in the first place, because everything you've ever known in terms of products is foreign products. So there's a thing to say about our own attitudes as Ghanaians to patronize more made in Ghana products. But there's also a thing to say for the supermarkets to create more opportunities for Ghanaian brands to get access on the shelf space. But it's not that simple, because it's a bit complicated. There are areas where the country has comparative advantage, and producers don't have the capacity to take advantage of that.
So we have the rankings of the various supermarkets that you also did, and we have a game coming up tops. In fact, we'll be getting an interview with CEO of the game, why they decided to stock their shelves with basically almost everything as made in Ghana goods. But Game comes first, and the second in the ranking is Maxmart. Melcom is third, ShopRite fourth. Then the second one is not too clear here. Kuala.
Fifth.
Palace sixth. City seventh, and Marina Mall last.
So we wanted to know the made in Ghana friendliness of the malls, and which of them sells more made in Ghana than the other. So this is a simple ranking of who sells more made in Ghana. And we looked at two key indicators. We wanted to see in relative terms how much of their total stock is made in Ghana in a particular supermarket.
All right. So I'll get back to you, but let's listen to Chief Executive of Game Stores, Albert Vogt, who has stated that between 70 and 80% of local products can be found in game shops in Ghana.
We are in Ghana because we like to drive the Ghanaian economy as well. Our own benefit, but also the Ghanaian economy has benefit. Almost 80% of our products is sourced in Ghana.
Great.
And we do it in all the countries. So we have the teams to do that for us. So if you go to the fresh, practically 100% is sourced in Ghana. If you go to certain GM items, we import a bit, but most of it, if you take the average, between 75–80% is from Ghana. So we are supporting the economy. We employ in 4 stores more than 300 people directly in the stores, but we employ many, many more people indirectly from suppliers, the cleaning company, the security company, all those companies we work together with. It's all from Ghana.
I see. So you believe in made in Ghana goods?
Yeah, for sure.
Great.
But so do you, because I think that's what you want to buy as a customer. It's not that we want to sell it to you that way. No, you ask us that you can buy it from us.
All right, so with our CEO of Game Shops, Albert Vogt, you're impressed about his stance with regards to made in Ghana products being stocked on their shelves.
Well, I wish I had known which product categories you're talking about, because 70 to 80% is on the high side.
I think it's generally.
I would like the opportunity to have more interaction, for example, to know, you know, which I believe he's talking about certain particular categories, because majority of the products in the malls, as we know, are imported. Now, the point is that the difference between, if you look at the rankings that we did, there's not much of a huge difference between who came first and who came last. Overall, the share of made in Ghana products in the malls is fairly low. So Game comes top, but there's still a big room for improvement even for Game.
All right, you know what? We have a man standing by in one of the supermarkets. He's joining us live by phone to tell us what exactly the public or the shoppers are actually looking out for. Fred, if you can hear me, welcome to the market, please.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Boise.
All right, so where exactly are you now, and who have you been talking to?
Yeah, currently I am at the Kuala shopping mall right here in Osu, Accra. And I've been engaging with some of the consumers who have come around to do some shopping, and a number of them were telling me about what they make of made in Ghana products. But I must say, at the Kuala shopping center, there is a designated area for made in Ghana products, and on their shelves you can see products ranging from yam, plantain, pineapples, oranges, banana. You can see a couple of potatoes, shallots, and you can see seeded grapes. So there are a variety of products on the shelves here at Kuala.
Now, Fred, when you spoke to some of the shoppers, did they take into consideration, or do they take into consideration price or quality?
Very good. So when I got some of the shoppers, really what they told me is that they look at the packaging, number one, they look at the pricing, and most importantly, the content of whatever they are buying. And one man in particular whom I met, who really said he works at the UN, he said when the thing is not made in Ghana, he is not buying it. And he narrated some of his experience where he had to look for a local rice or locally produced rice right here in Ghana, and he went from shop to shop and he couldn't get access to any of the made in Ghana products. Right there I have...
All right, no, Fred, you know what? Let's wait until you come to the office and we get some more visuals of this. But let's come back to the studio and wrapping up, what's the way forward out of all this?
The way forward is that we need, as an integrated stakeholders approach as a country, to see how we can, because mind you, what we're seeing in the malls is not too different from what you see if we went to the retail outlets outside of the malls. It's not as if the percentage of made in Ghana products being sold outside of the malls will necessarily be significantly higher than what we see in the malls.
Now, would regulation work in this?
Regulation is only a part of it, but I think that for a long time as a country, we haven't really had a strong manufacturing base. That's beginning to change. A lot of SMEs are beginning to acquire the capability to do really well, good quality, well-branded products. There's a need for support. The Food and Drugs Authority, the Ghana Standards Authority, would have to be a bit more proactive in supporting local producers to acquire the right standardization and the right licensing that they require to be able to meet international product certification standards. Number two, financing is a big issue. A lot of local producers are doing very good products, but they lack the financing capacity to produce at scale and supply the supermarkets. Now, one key thing with the supermarkets is that if you send your products as a supplier, you're not going to get paid upfront. So typically, you have to provide a supplier's credit. The goods will probably get paid after 3 months. A lot of Ghanaian suppliers and producers are not able to do that. So those are some of the dynamics. We need the banks and creditors to be able to come. There are gaps in the value chain to be able to help
we have to wrap up
improve access to the shelf space.
But it's interesting, and I believe we would invite you again on another platform to espouse these details that you have.
Pleasure.
Thank you very much. Michael Koto is managing partner of advisory group, international advisory group, Confidence. And on that note, wrap up this afternoon's edition of The Market, please. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Abuaji. We have a good afternoon.